When you're facing an ALS diagnosis, the world of clinical trials can feel, well, it can feel like a dense, confusing forest. So today, we're going to draw a map through it. The goal is to take that feeling of being overwhelmed and just completely replace it with a sense of clarity. Let's get started. If you've started looking into ALS research, you've probably felt it. That wave of technical jargon, all this data, it feels almost impossible to sort through. And I just want to say, that feeling is completely normal. It's actually where most people start their journey. So let's think of this as our map. We're going to go through the whole process, step by step, piece by piece, so you have a really clear view of the landscape. That way, you can figure out the path that feels right for you. Okay, section 1, trials, a path to progress. Now, before we get into the how of actually finding a trial, we first need to cover the what and the why. So let's start with the absolute basics. So what is a clinical trial? At its core, it's a research study with human volunteers, and its whole purpose is to see if a new treatment is safe and if it actually works. And here's the most important part. It is the only way new therapies for ALS ever get approved. Every single drug available today had to go through this exact process. And that brings up a really, really important distinction we have to make. There's a huge difference between an experimental treatment that's still being tested and an approved therapy that has already passed all those tests and is available at the pharmacy. You've got to keep that difference front and center in your mind. Now, this whole process happens in 4 distinct phases. Phase 1 is really small, and it's all about safety. Is this new thing safe for people? Phase 2 gets a little bigger, and scientists start looking for the first hints that the treatment might be working. Then, Phase 3 is the big one. Large-scale testing to confirm it. For anyone with ALS who's thinking about a trial, it's usually these Phase 2 and Phase 3 trials that you're going to see the most. All right, so now that we've got the fundamentals down, let's get practical. Section 2 is all about finding your way. How to actually locate these trials and begin to understand if one might be a fit for you. So where do you even start looking? Well, the official government database is a site called clinicaltrials.gov. But honestly, organizations that are focused on patients, like the ALS Association, IAM-ALS, and NEALS, which is the Northeast ALS Consortium, they've all created these fantastic, really user-friendly tools to help you search. They're a great place to start. As you start looking, you're going to immediately run into something called eligibility criteria. These are just the specific requirements a person has to meet to be able to join a study. And they aren't there to make things difficult. They're absolutely essential for keeping patients safe and for making sure the research results are as clear and reliable as possible. These criteria basically break down into 2 types. You've got inclusion criteria. Those are the things you need to have. For example, maybe you need to have been diagnosed within the last 2 years. Then there's exclusion criteria. Those are the things that would prevent you from joining. Maybe it's a specific medication you're already on or something about your current respiratory function. And listen, this is so important to remember. Not qualifying for a specific trial is very, very common. The rules have to be incredibly strict for the science to work. It is never, ever personal. It doesn't mean anything about you, and it certainly doesn't mean there aren't other options out there. Okay, so let's say you found a trial you might be eligible for. What does it actually feel like to be in one? In Section 3, we're going to take a really honest look at the day-to-day reality of participation. Now, the goal here isn't to scare anybody off, not at all. It's about being honest, because having all the information, the good and the challenging, is what truly gives you the power to make the best possible decision for you and your family. So let's look at both sides of the coin. On the one hand, the benefits can be huge. You could get access to a brand new treatment, you'll get very close medical monitoring, and you have the knowledge that you are helping to advance the science. But the risks are real too. There could be side effects nobody knows about yet. There's a chance you might get a placebo, and the burden of time and travel can be a really serious factor. Let's talk a little more about that word placebo. A placebo is just an inactive substance, like a sugar pill. It's given to what's called a control group, so that researchers can scientifically prove that any positive effects they see are coming from the drug itself, and not just from random chance. It's a critical tool for proving that a therapy actually works. Now, the good news is that the way we design trials is evolving. Researchers are developing much smarter models, like platform trials, which can test multiple drugs all at once. They're also using things like shared placebo groups to increase a person's chance of getting an active drug. It's all about making research more efficient and, most importantly, more patient-focused. So, with all this information in our back pocket, we arrive at the most important part, Section 4, making your informed choice. This is where you take everything we've talked about and apply it to your unique personal situation.
Before you talk to your doctor, before you talk to anyone else, it's so helpful to just reflect on these points. What are your personal goals right now? What are your biggest priorities for your quality of life? Can you realistically manage the travel and the costs involved? And what does your support system, your caregivers, look like? Your answers to these questions are really the foundation for your decision.
Now, when you have that crucial conversation with your doctor, here are some of the key questions to have ready. And don't ever hesitate to be direct. You need and deserve clear answers on the time commitment, the potential side effects, the odds of getting a placebo, and what the plan is if your condition changes. And I really want to pause on this point because it is so, so important. The goal of this whole process is to make an informed choice. Choosing not to participate in a trial based on your own goals and your own life, that is an equally valid and deeply respected decision. Okay, let's end this by looking forward. Section 5 is all about the future of ALS research and the incredible, really tangible hope that is on the horizon right now. And what's so exciting is that this future isn't some distant dream. It is literally happening now. Innovations like the Healy ALS platform trial are completely changing the game for how we test drugs. We're even seeing therapies that target the specific genetic drivers of ALS, like for people with SOD1 and C9orf72 mutations. The pace of discovery is genuinely, truly accelerating. And what this all really comes down to is that progress in ALS research is a community effort. It's a team sport. Whether that means participating in a trial or contributing to a data registry or advocating for more funding, every single action, no matter how small it feels, helps move the science forward for everyone. Ultimately, this journey is yours. It's unique to you and your family, and the path you take is your choice to make. We just hope that this explainer has given you the map you need to feel confident in whatever you decide. So the only question left is, what will your next step be?